Welcome! So today we're diving deep, and I mean deep, inside the brain to uncover the incredible story of its most dynamic and, for a long, long time, its most misunderstood residents, the microglia. Get ready, because these cells, they are so much more than anyone ever give them credit for.
So let me just start with a question for you. Hidden away between all your neurons, there's a whole army of shape-shifting cells. They act as sentinels, first responders, and even gardeners for your brain. So who are these secret guardians? Well, let's find out.
Here's what we've got lined up in this explainer. We'll meet these secret sentinels, we're going to debunk an old myth about them, and then explore all the different jobs they do. We'll also ask that tricky question: are they a friend or a foe when it comes to disease? And finally, we'll look at how they might just hold the key to the future of brain health.
All right, first things first, let's get a proper introduction to the absolute star of our show today, the microglia. So what are they, really? Microglia are basically the brain's dedicated in-house immune system. Think of them as resident macrophages. Those are the cells famous for eating up harmful invaders. See, unlike the rest of your body, the brain is protected by this super exclusive wall called the blood-brain barrier, so it needs its own private security force. And that's precisely the job of microglia. They're the first and main line of defense against any injury or pathogen, like a virus or bacteria, inside our central nervous system. And get this, they're not some rare, obscure cell type. Just look at this number. Microglia make up a whopping 5 to 12% of all your brain cells. That is a massive population of tiny guardians, and they're constantly at work. All right, let's move on, because our understanding of these cells has gone through a complete revolution. For nearly 100 years, we had it pretty much all wrong. For the longest time, science saw microglia in just two simple states: resting and activated. The thinking was they just sit around, totally dormant, until something bad happens, a stroke or an infection. Then they'd wake up and spring into action. But, well, we now know that couldn't be further from the truth. Even when the brain is perfectly healthy, these cells are anything but resting. And this quote right here, it just nails the new reality. Far from being sleepy, microglia are constantly moving, extending, and pulling back their little arms to check out their surroundings. They're in a state of perpetual motion, always monitoring and even influencing the neurons around them. So if they aren't just on or off, what in the world are they doing all the time? Okay, this is where it gets really fascinating. Microglia are master shapeshifters, and it turns out each shape corresponds to a very specific job. So first up, we have the surveyor or the ramified state. This is kind of their default mode in a healthy brain. They've got these beautiful, really branched out arms that are always in motion, kind of like a sentinel on patrol, making sure the entire brain neighborhood is scanned and secure every few hours. But when that sentinel spots trouble, it transforms. It pulls in its arms and becomes amoeboid, kind of like a little blob. This new shape lets it move fast to the site of an injury, where it acts as a first responder and a cleanup crew, eating up dead cells, debris, or any invading pathogens. They also have a much more delicate job. They can form this amazing structure called a ball and chain at the very tip of one of their arms. I want you to think of this as a precision tool, like a gardener's shears. They use it to meticulously prune away weak or unnecessary connections between neurons, a process that is absolutely critical for learning and development. So, here's the key takeaway. Their form follows their function. This table lays it out perfectly. Whether they're acting as a sentinel, a first responder, a gardener, or even a specialized support crew, their shape is perfectly suited for their job. It's like having an entire toolkit of different forms for different tasks. This all brings us to a really critical question. With all these powerful abilities, what happens when things go wrong? Because in the world of brain disease, microglial can be both the hero and, well, sometimes the villain. And the stakes here could not be higher. Just let this number sink in. By the year 2050, it's estimated that over 100 million people will be affected by Alzheimer's disease alone. This is exactly why understanding microglia isn't just some academic curiosity, it's an urgent global health priority. So here's the problem. Microglia are a real double-edged sword. In a disease like Alzheimer's, they can be super helpful, clearing away the toxic amyloid plaques that build up. But they can also get stuck in this activated state, releasing a constant stream of inflammatory chemicals that over time end up damaging and killing the very neurons they're supposed to be protecting.
And it's not just about Alzheimer's. This story of microglia going from helpful to harmful is a common thread in so many of our most devastating neurological disorders. We're talking Parkinson's, MS, ALS, and even the long-term damage from traumatic brain injury. So, let's end on a note of hope. If microglia can be part of the problem, can we actually convince them to be part of the solution? This is honestly one of the most exciting frontiers in all of neuroscience right now. Instead of only trying to treat neurons, researchers are developing therapies that target the microglia directly. The goal is to sort of tweak their behavior, to calm down their harmful inflammatory responses while boosting their helpful debris-clearing functions.
And this quote right here, it just highlights how much optimism there is in the field. Scientists are even working on something called microglia replacement therapy, which is pretty much what it sounds like, swapping out dysfunctional microglia for healthy new ones. What starts as a breakthrough for one disease could become a platform to treat many. It's incredible. Which leaves us with this one last powerful question. Once seen as simple housekeepers, we now know microglia are these dynamic shapeshifters that sculpt, protect, and patrol our brains. As we continue to unlock their secrets, it's becoming more and more clear that the key to healing the brain might just lie in understanding its tiniest, most powerful guardians.